Hey, what's going on, everybody? My name is Mundane Matt, or nowadays I'm just going by Matt Jarbo. That's what I've been going by on the main channel and everything else. And you might be asking yourself, why the sudden change? It's been 5 years. You've been going by Mundane Matt. Why now do you want to get rid of it, Matt? Well, truth is, I'm going through a rebranding right now, and I wanted to talk a little bit about that, and I will get to that here in a minute. But first things first. I've recently moved. I've talked about that quite a bit on Twitter and in my videos, as well as the live streams I've been doing. If you've noticed, I've been doing more of those. If you happen to check them out, come on in, say hi. I think they're, I think they're a good time. I find them to be enjoyable, but they've also been really great as a way of a secondary source of income. Super Chat right now is probably 1/3 of my total monthly earnings at this point. The generous nature of the people watching, which is amazing. The ad situation has not gotten any better over the course of this month. It's pretty bad. It has gotten to a point of where it is very, very demoralizing. You might notice that a lot of your favorite content creators just aren't putting out as much content, and the reason is not that they don't want to. It's just that the rate of investment or the return on investment is not there. And we have to be mindful of that. And that's such an interesting thing to talk about publicly, mostly because 2 years ago, you couldn't have this conversation. You couldn't have you would be lambasted if you even talked about it. And I know that even in earlier videos, about probably 4 years ago now, I kind of went after Linkara for that. But I went after Linkara more for his attitude versus his reasoning. I get his reasoning. I understand it now more than ever. But I might have been a little. I think in retrospect, I probably should have been a bit nicer. Because, like I said, back then you couldn't have those conversations. Now it's become more mainstream. It's become more acceptable to talk about in the public space, and a lot of people are just talking about it because they literally have no idea what to do, and people go, well, what about diversification? And it's like, yeah, that'd be nice, but how much of that's going to happen? A lot of people have said, well, why don't you try to focus more on Patreon? And it's like, well, I've been trying to. Tonight I'm doing a live stream, a few hours actually, for patrons and everything, and that's going to be a lot of fun. But at the same time, I view Patreon as getting to the point of where fans of content creators are going to have a real Sophie's choice on their hand, and they're going to have to choose because they're only going to have so much money. And here's the other thing about Patreon. People will pledge money, but they won't pay it. So there's no there's people can pledge $50 and then not pay it. And I've had that happen. So it's like, well, they pledge it and you're like, oh, great. Thank you so much. And then it's like, psych, kidding. So even that's not necessarily the most useful platform in order to rely on. Other people have started selling T-shirts, which I have been looking into the prospect of that, as it's been recommended to be by a number of people, both online and offline. Currently thinking of some T-shirt designs, and I got to reach out to some artists that I know to help me design them and everything else, so we can go down that path, because I think it'd be cool to see a Mundane Matt t-shirt in public. I would probably shit myself and then also run up to that person and hug them for a long time. And then they'll be like, I found this at the thrift store. I don't even know what the fuck it is. I'm like, God damn it. Well, that's me. That's me. You're wearing me on your shirt. And then they won't know, and they'll probably take it off and throw it away, but that's fine too. So, lots been going on with that. So I just moved into a house, got a house, nice house, like it. I live in the woods. And I still get 235 megabytes a second download speed. So that is just insane. And when I say live in the woods, I'm literally 10 minutes away from the nearest store. So, and I am out there, it is dark out here. And there are apparently bears. So there's that. But I like the place quite a bit. We're still getting settled. It's probably why I haven't done face cam stuff yet, is because my office is still kind of in disarray, and I haven't set up the lights yet, so I'm just trying to I'm also trying to decide if I want to switch up how I did things, how I shot things and what artwork is going to go behind me, so on and so forth. Also, I have blinds that I ordered that are supposed to be coming in next week, I think. And it's like taking 3 weeks to get those things done, which is just ridiculous. So I literally have like U-Haul ferny pads pinned up over everything. So my house looks like it's been boarded up by people with ferny pads. So those are furniture pads, if you aren't aware. That the term is furniture pad, but in the business in Hollywood, we call them ferny pads. And they serve every purpose under the sun. They're wonderful. So yeah, there's that. The house is nice. I have to, I having some issues with it apparently, like, and I don't understand this, but there's a washroom, and the washroom is not big enough for a stackable washer dryer, right? Not a current one. And it's mostly because of the way that the water heater is strapped in there. But the bolt or the stud that the strap is on is like out pretty far ways, and we can't find another one. So we're currently trying to troubleshoot that problem. We ordered a refrigerator and a washer dryer set. The refrigerator was too big because we didn't measure it properly. That was our fault. We did find a new one that we should be getting here pretty soon. And the washer and dryer came dented, right? They came dented. And that was just really weird. And then my girlfriend refused all 3 items, which really pissed off the delivery drivers. And I understand that. They're kind of being cocks about it. So it's like, well, fuck you. It's your job. And at the same time, our weird neighbor came over trying to get an eye at the new people, right? Check us out. And he apparently, I wasn't home for this. I heard about this. He started like mean mugging the delivery drivers, one of whom was Hispanic and the other one my girlfriend believes was Cambodian. And then he came over, was talking to my girlfriend, and he was like, oh, what is your, like, what do you do for work? And she's like, oh, my boyfriend does YouTube. He does news commentary. And he goes, oh, does he report on fake news? Right? And it's just like, oh God, he's a Trump supporter. Right? And he's a Trump supporter. Like, you know that, because that kind of shit would not be used in that kind of conversation, right? Like, it wouldn't be, it's whatever. Then this guy, okay, so here's the thing. Then this guy leaves like logs on the other side of our front lawn, right? So there's like a kind of an exit pathway out to this access road that goes down to the house behind us. And the dude across the way put these logs out to prevent us from driving onto his access road. Like it's a wall or something, right? He built his wall, so to speak. So we moved the logs so we could drive out that way. And then he put the logs back. So we then moved the logs further, and he hasn't gone and done anything yet, but I did ask my realtor to look into it. And then he's like, yeah, that's actually his property. And so if you put that there, that's pretty much like a fence, and you're not really able to touch that. And I'm like, okay, well, we'll have to go put those back then. It's not the most ideal thing on the planet, but at the same time, it's his property and we have to adhere to it. You know what I mean? But it's like, again, the lines aren't necessarily the most drawn. Like, on the other side of my place is an access road going down to a couple houses. And like, I'm not going to put up logs blocking anyone's access. Like, that's fucking dickish. That's just so fucking dickish. But it doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter. It's it be what it be. And, you're going to deal with not jealous, but just childish people as these sort of things tend to progress, which is unfortunate because I don't want to start off battling a neighbor my first week here. The other neighbor behind us, I met the mom down there. She's very nice. Her son likes to fire off guns, as I found out, is legal here, but they have to be shooting at a target. There's a swamp that's kind of in between our place and theirs. I'm not kidding you, like a legitimate swamp. And she told me, oh, well, this house was vacant for a couple years, and so he was shooting into the swamp. But now that you guys are here, I told him to not shoot at the swamp anymore and to shoot at the target behind the house. And I'm like, well, thanks for that. Thank you. I appreciate that. I appreciate you instructing your 19-year-old son to not discharge firearms in the general vicinity and direction of my property. Thank you. I appreciate that. So, and he shoots off a 22. So you hear basically sounds like a firecracker going off just in rapid succession. And he does it a couple times here and there. It's really not that big of a deal, but you got to live with it, On the other side, it's kind of cool. Like, my dad lives nearby now, so I can just kind of pop down and see him. He stopped by the other day. So that's nice. That's nice. Olympia is where I'm living. It's a small town, 45,000 people. It's a lot slower paced, but a lot of Californians are moving here. Like, they're anticipating that Californians are going to be coming in, like people, just not just Californians, but like over the course of the next 10 years, like 2.5 million people are going to be coming here to this part of the country. It's like the last oasis of the United States. People are coming here to retire. So I got in at a good time. I feel pretty good about that. On the bright side, or on the fun side of things, back to kind of on the whole YouTube thing. Last weekend I was in Portland for the unofficial Drunken Peasants meetup, and hung out with Scotty and TJ and Ben, and was talking to TJ for a bit. And TJ was asking me if I want to come up and be in studio, seeing that I'm like about an hour outside of Seattle, and I said, yeah, sure, totally. And then he was asking me if I want to come on maybe semi-frequently or whatever. And I was like, oh yeah, totally. So that hopefully will happen. Still waiting to find out about that. Waiting to see what's good for them and everything. So yeah, get to go hopefully be in studio and hang out with them. They're very cool guys. I like them quite a bit. So that's going to be, that's actually a very moralizing and a part of everything that's going on lately. It's like collaborations are good. And I like the Drunken Peasants, so being on there is actually probably going to boost my ego quite a bit. Not in a way that's going to like make me like, I'm like the fifth peasant, because like not at all. But to boost my ego in the sense that like I'm on the right path for what I'm doing, to kind of like lift my spirits. The whole ad situation happening right at the time where I move into a new house is just like, it's like, fuck, man. It's like, it's just, it hurts because it's just like I'm restarting over again. And that you guys might have noticed that. So I was doing $3 Theater as its own channel. I decided to migrate that over to the main channel. The reason why is because controversial material just isn't paying out, right? It's just doing it. Like I'll do my usual content and I'll get the same amount of views I normally get. And instead of making like $40-$50 a video or whatever, it's like $6, and it's just like, you look at that and you're like, well, what the fuck's the point? Like, why? Like what the hell? And YouTube's completely just like non-communicative in this one. They're not communicating at all. They're just like, well, we're working on it and we'll be, things are going to change. The next few weeks are going to be difficult. Yeah, no shit. But there's no like reprieve in sight. And I understand it's from a business perspective, I understand it completely. From a creator perspective, it's like, you guys knew that these things existed. It was such a small, minuscule problem, but you haven't fought back. You haven't defended yourself. And they haven't. And and again, that's a business perspective. It just sucks because many of us feel like we've been kind of like hucked out into the cold. And we've always known that YouTube is not the most stable platform, but it's more stable than it isn't, and there's still eyeballs on shit. So it's like, that is going to come back eventually, but will it come back in the right way? I have no idea. In the same way it was before, probably not. So I'm trying to figure out the best way for me. And to be honest with you guys, and I'll be just completely honest, $3 Theater was going to be my pivot eventually. I was building that channel in order to focus on that predominantly, and then use Mundane Matt as being more of a live stream channel, and maybe something more like the Mundane Matt show is right now, and like have that be a thing. And that is still the goal, essentially, for what I want. That's still the fucking goal. And hopefully I'll be able to do that with everything under one banner now. And so that's why I've been saying my name is Matt Jarbo. This is, you're listening to the Mundane Matt Show and everything else. I'm hoping that that's going to be successful for me. The downside to it is right now, because it's in the process of the pivot, I have to essentially rebuild an audience. People have been unsubscribing, not like super many, a few hundred at this point, but the views are down. The views are down. And I did the math too. I did the math and everything. And it's like, I got 136,000 subscribers. Roughly, if I average, let's say 13,000 views per video, which was kind of happening. About 45% of my viewers are non-subscribed accounts, which means there's about, 6,000 to 8,000 people that are subscribed that tend to watch every day. And that's cool. And that's so fucking cool. And I'm really thankful for that. But it's like, you look at like the actual number of subscribed people versus the amount of views, and it's like, there's such a huge disparity there. And part of that too has to be with the fact that I know I upload a lot of content and a lot of it's varied. So it's one of the reasons why I'm like, well, I can do the Mundane Matt Show and then focus on that and shit. And then I did the episode yesterday, which had 6 stories, which ended up being like 39 minutes long almost. Which I was like, this is way too fucking long. And I got like 2,500 views on it, you know? And it's just like, damn. Is it like, damn. If I would have cut up these things into 6 individual videos, which they all could have been, then I would have gotten way more than that, you know? But the thing is though, too, I realized that like, I'm not doing the kind of titles for the show that, like, let's say Philip DeFranco is, which, you know, like when he talked about Daddy 5, I was like, wow, we need to talk about this, you know, and titles that are kind of reflective of what's going on, but also at the same time, kind of clickbaity. And that's like my biggest criticism for Philip DeFranco is that, and I understand why he does it, but it's like, for yesterday's video, I put in an Antifa member, right? And it's like I that was the thumbnail, was an Antifa member, and it's like that's not going to be enticing. And I thought maybe people might realize that or whatever. It wasn't. It wasn't. I should have gone with my original gut, which was like to put on Ann Coulter, and I might actually change that thumbnail out to Ann Coulter, just because that's the first story and that's the prevalent story and things like that. And she's, you know, popular character. So it's like, again, like I'm working on the thumbnail game. You know, the video has got like the articles, the video's got like timestamps, the video's got way more descriptive tags, and it's like, you think that would play into the algorithm, and it doesn't. And it's just one of those things where it's like, it's a rebranding process, and I'm trying not to get depressed over it, but it's hard not to sometimes, because you realize that you get to a point of where it's like you cover certain stuff and it appeals to a certain audience. And then, you know, the shift begins to happen, and it's like, you know, I don't agree with everyone on everything. They don't agree with me on everything. But just this year alone, just in the last like 4 fucking months, I have lost thousands and thousands and thousands of subscribers. I've gained many, but I've also lost many over multiple different tiffs with people over shit, whether it's a Trump supporter, whether it's, you know, a conspiracy theory fucking YouTube channel misconstruing my words and fucking turning it into some shit that I clearly didn't even fucking say, you know, or it's like going against people that are more right leaning and reactionary. And it's so funny to see, because I get stubborn and then I'm like, I'll double down on this shit. You know, I don't fucking care. And it's like, I do care. I care a lot, but it's like, I want people to get along. I want people to watch, but you're not going to be able to please everybody, which is true. And when it comes to certain aspects of this particular platform now, you're going to start noticing a lot of, because there's not a lot of SJW content for these kind of channels to cover. They're going to start focusing on different things. And you can already see in some respects that they turn on their allies. And we've been seeing this now for the past like 6-7 months. I'd say since around September of last year, to be honest with you. And it's only going to get worse. And that's one of the reasons too why I decided to kind of pivot, is because I don't want to be in that world. I'm not in it for YouTube drama. I don't fucking give a shit about YouTube drama. I'll only really talk about other YouTubers if I find it to be, if there's a legal issue or if it's related to the business at hand or something like that. But just chiming in on the drama between people, that's not what I am. And so it's going to be an interesting road going forward in terms of trying to figure things out and try to get the channel back up to where it was before this ad drop off and everything. And even though we may not agree on everything, I do want you guys to know that I'm very appreciative that you guys listen, even when if it's not every day, but even when you do. This is a situation where it's just like where I'm currently finding myself at this moment in time, with like the new responsibility of moving into a house and the problems that are already coming along with that, and how much money that's costing me versus how much money isn't coming in. And the fact that my girlfriend like left her job, and everything, because I was making enough money to cover both of us. And now that's gone away. And, you know, I'm currently looking for part-time work, if not full-time work. And it's just like, that's where things are. And I'm hoping that it won't be that way forever, but you know, I've got to survive, and that's just the best way for me to do it. So this is kind of a way for me. I just kind of wanted to get this shit off my chest a bit. You know, I don't want it to drag down my life, but I can't help but think about it, because it gets depressing. It gets depressing pretty easily. and it gets it really then takes away the motivation to want to work, because you get to you look at the return and it's just like, what's the fucking point? And the live streams have been great. They've been fucking fantastic for extra support in that regard and everything else, which is really awesome. But then I get told, okay, well, if you bring on other people, or do whatever, then, like engagement drops down and people don't want that. And again, it's very much what feels like a dance monkey dance scenario. At times, some of the comments I've gotten made it kind of feel like that, but I just more or less like to, hang out and like chill, with people. And that to me is more fun. That's like the most social interaction I get these days. So it's a lot for my morale in general. And because it's just, yeah, sometimes things feel very alone, and that's kind of where I'm at right now. I'm hoping it gets better, but we'll have to just kind of wait and see what goes on with it. But in the meantime, I'm going to wrap this thing up. I think I've gone into like self-pity mode, and that's not where I want to be. But again, thank you guys very much for the constant support, the watching, even during this time right now. I appreciate it. I will talk to you guys later. Have yourself a fantastic day, and peace out.